Welcome back to another episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. I'm super excited today. Today I'm joined with the owner and founder of Honeit, Nick Livingston. We're going to dive into how recruiters, sourcers, and hiring managers can make decisions faster through sharing interview intelligence using the Honeit software. But more specifically, we're going to dive in how Honeit can help recruiters monetize every conversation they have with both clients and candidates, and with all the noise in today's market with automation and advertising and people coming from every angle. Nick's going to drop some value today that is going to completely change the way you run your recruiting business. So Nick, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you, Donnie. Great to be back.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome, man. I'm excited about this one and the work you've put together to, what you got to share with the audience. Before we get into that, Nick, just kind of give the audience a little bit of a background, with just your recruiting experience before we even talk about Honeit. What was your experience as a recruiter?
Yeah. Well, I fell into recruiting as most of us do, Donnie. I
Yep.
moved to New York City looking to work in the music business and stumbled into a recruiting firm looking for a job. And they said, "Oh, you like technology? You seem like a people person. Have you ever thought about tech recruiting?" And I said, "What is that?" But so anyway, helped build out a kind of technical recruiting arm of the company there. And then went in-house. I moved, got back into the music business, worked at MTV Viacom as a recruiting manager and recruiting director. So that was kind of fun, full circle. And then moved to the Bay Area to get closer to technology and work at early stage startups, help them build out their talent functions, and had some really exciting growth in the Bay Area. And then, focused on Honeit. I realized it's these conversations we have every day, talking to candidates, talking to hiring teams and hiring managers about, what's not on the job description, just like we're talking to candidates about what's not on the resume. And I felt like there was just this gap in our tech stack, right? So we've got the telephone, we've got Zoom, but how can we showcase talent and share insights from all these phone calls and video calls that we're having? So that was kind of the impetus of Honeit of, let's go beyond scribbled notes and start to share interview quotes and evolve.
Right. Right. Now, how long have you guys officially been on the market for those that haven't, aren't aware of Honeit?
So we've been building the platform for 5 years now. I mean, we've been building the technology for some time. We've really kind of gone to market over the last couple of years, though. So
awesome. If you guys are listening with us live, go ahead and hit the like button. We'll be able to answer questions as we go through here. Then Nick's going to share some value on a little flywheel he's created, and then we'll actually walk through the process and how Honeit can impact you. But the likes, the comments help others that are going to find value in this, see this video. So go ahead and dive into that. Nick, let's talk about a little bit, that whole challenge right now of the importance of, we talked about a little bit before the show of there's a lot of automation out there, which can be a good thing, right? There's a lot of different, a lot of messages, just a lot of noise in general in our society, right? And it's so important now with that to really monetize each and every conversation that we have with both clients and candidates. I mean, speak on that a little bit.
yeah, you're right, Donnie. I mean, there's tools to do anything at scale, right? You can click a button and blast 400 people, whether that's going to be valuable or not. I think people are starting to realize that automation used in the wrong way can actually, hurt your business, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
People can click the spam button and then your next 200 emails don't get through, right? There's a lot of things you can do wrong when you start to look at automation. And I'm not saying automation is a bad thing. I'm just saying, talking to people and human conversations is an important thing, right? And so,
Yep.
And I think that sometimes gets confused, and it's not a recruiter's fault. It's not our fault. It's what's been pushed at us for the last 10 years, right? As an industry, people have been telling us that one-way interviews are a better candidate experience. And we're like, what? Like, candidate applies for a job, gets an automated email with a link to record themselves answering 7 questions. You think that's a good human candidate experience? No.
Right.
Any recruiter put in that process would be like, wait, this company's asking me to record myself, answer 5 video interview questions, and before they'll talk to me, right? So I think we really have to look at the tools that are coming at us and decide, is that going to empower and improve the recruiter experience, or is that going to hurt or kind of remove the recruiter experience, right? So we're looking at building a solution that's really going to take recruiters to the next level, right? How can we perform highly technical phone screens for any given conversation, for any given role, and deliver a work product that's going to save a hiring manager time, show them that we did their interviewing for them, and accelerate those offers. So
Yep.
again, whether it's an intake call where we're asking a great question, learning about a role, and hearing an amazing answer, how can we use that amazing answer to attract passive candidates? Just like when a candidate tells us something amazing, how can we use that answer to excite a client, get them on site faster? So
Right.
I can share my screen and just kind of show you that flywheel.
Yeah,
that
let's do it. Let's dig into it.
That'd be helpful. Okay. So, and in general, just the foundation here is that our conversations matter and our conversations are full of information. So, we'll show you today. I'll share my screen and kind of quickly show you how we can do all of this in Honeit very easily. But this idea of when you talk to a great candidate, even if you don't have a role or rec for them, how can we market that candidate to prospective clients? We'll show you how to create blind candidate previews and what that are. And that's what shows that prospective client that you're not every other recruiter. You're not just forwarding resumes, and that you're providing transparency and trust from the first contact with that new client. Okay.
Yep.
And that's
just a butt in right there. I think that's a massive, massive differentiation out there, right? From where I sit and working with so many people, there's so many people that are just sliding resumes in as their main way of being a recruiter. And this right now is like, okay, I can tell you that I'm going to do something different, but now I'm actually showing you. Yeah.
It's like all talk, right? Like, no,
Right.
now we're talking. We've been talking forever, right? Talking is important, but let's show our work, right? So yeah, the idea of a blind candidate preview by maybe that runner-up candidate that didn't get the job, you filled it, but you've got 2 or 3 candidates who you talked to and they're still active and available. How can we market those proactively to attract, to other companies in that location, in that industry that could use that skill set, right?
Right.
So once you get them excited and they maybe even interview that candidate, they also say, hey, we've got some other jobs we'd like you to work on. Well, what happens then? That's an intake call, right? Those intake calls you have with a hiring manager, you're asking great questions about why a job's open. You're asking why it's an exciting opportunity. You're asking about what the team would be like, right? All of those great questions. That's an interview too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you capturing all of this great information from that kickoff call, right? So we'll show you how in Honeit you can do an intake call, whether it's a phone call or video call with a client, ask great questions and capture those great answers so that we can create a job preview in seconds after an intake call. That's a link that we can now share with our team. This is how mid-sized recruiting firms now, an account manager, a recruiter, and a sourcer can all quickly align on what the hiring manager wants. And we can agree, and there's no tension between sales and ops within the agency, right? But we can go one step further and share those job previews with candidates to excite them and attract them and show them that we really do have a relationship with the client. And again, we're standing out and doing something different, right? So we'll show how to create quickly job previews, which can attract candidates and get them on your calendar for phone screens, right? Which is the next step. Talking to a candidate and asking great questions, but not even great questions, asking questions that the client wants us to ask. What are the 5 questions that hiring manager would typically ask a candidate? We can now ask those 5 questions on the first call, hang up the phone, and share those key 5 answers right back with the client.
Right.
We did their interview for them. We saved them 45 minutes of their day. They can invest 2 minutes to hear a few highlights and go, oh my gosh, Nick, you're right. The resume was light, but you know it when you hear it. So we'll show you how you can turn your phone screens into candidate presentations. And now what does that do? The flywheel starts over. For every candidate that you talk to, you can hide their name, hide their resume, hide their photo, and market those blind candidate previews to the next client.
Yep.
So
it's so much of what you guys are doing is from what I help the market with, right? Of marketing and things like that. Like you guys it's just creating that whole thing easier, the ability to actually showcase a job on behalf of your client. Like this creates such a potential value add just by using this tool, like as a recruiter and being like, oh, well, we have a unique way of sharing your jobs, your opportunities, because I find that a lot of recruiters, what they'll do is they'll be like, hey, there's an open sales position. And then it just goes list the stats of what they're going to do as a sales job. And it's like, well, shoot, I didn't need you to tell me what I'm going to do as a salesman, right? I want to be captivated by what this opportunity is about. And that intake call is a really powerful feature to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah, let me show you. Let's put our money where our mouth is right here. So let's role play. who was that candidate I spoke with last week or last month or last year who was awesome? They just pinged me they're still available, or they pinged me that they're back on the market. Okay. Oh yeah, that person who was talking about, growth marketing, the growth marketing manager. We had an old search. And like, who was that candidate? I can't remember. I talked to so many people. Oh, yeah, it was Susan, right? Here's my call with Susan. I tagged her with growth marketing as a skill during our phone call. I asked her questions during my phone call with her about growth marketing and user acquisition. I mentioned it. I typed it in the notepad. And then the call transcript indexed growth marketing several times. Yeah, Susan, she was amazing. Well, what can we do with Susan, right? Maybe she was the runner-up for that job you just filled. What can we do with her? We've got all the great insights from the phone call with Susan. All this is automatically indexed and transcribed and parsed. But let's see how we can market Susan proactively. I know there's a few other companies in the Bay Area looking for a growth marketing director. Let's create a share link. Let's hide Susan's name and photo. Let's include a couple of those great interview answers from my phone call with Susan. Let's paste her bio in. Let's include, let's hide her resume. Let's hide her LinkedIn profile. So I don't want to share too much about the candidate. I want the client to be interested and say, yeah, share me more. Or yeah, I'd love to talk to this person, right? What we can do is create a blind candidate preview link. This is just a link. You can email this link to 5 VPs of marketing in the Bay Area and say, hey, just spoke with an amazing growth marketing manager. Saw you're looking for someone. Let me know if you like what you hear.
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening and you're doing, NPC marketing, and you're not using Honeit yet, this is a game changer. I mean, this is just such a different light again about showing up and standing out and being different. This is awesome, man.
And these are fully branded, right? So your logo would go here, your recruiter profile would go here. These links are all trackable, right? So when someone clicks that link, you hear the whoosh, the arrow, right? Cha-ching. You can make a dollar sign if you want, but every click is money, right? You're marketing that candidate. You've showed that prospective client that you do things different, right? And so that's what gets you kind of in the door with that new client, is again showing them, delivering, kind of sharing before asking, right? You're giving them something before you're asking, right? And it just takes them a couple of minutes to hear a few of these marketing answers and go, wow, this person sounds amazing. Okay? Right. So that might get you in the door. Maybe they interview this candidate, but now they might say, well, we've got a few other recs that we're working on, right? So let's do an intake call with that new client. We're going to learn about their business model, why these jobs are open, right? And what we can do is during that intake call, you can create and use a Honeit call guide specifically for those intake calls. And this is how recruiting firms can actually structure those intake calls, right? If you're going to bring in a new rec to us, we want to make sure you have these questions before we allocate recruiters and resources to fill this job. Right. So you can create an intake call guide that your account managers use, or that your recruiting leads use. And again, it asks the really good, meaty questions about what's your role in the company, hiring manager? Why is this job important to the business, right? Do you have budget approval, right? How is your company handling COVID and remote work, right? All of these great questions that you're probably already asking, you can now automatically record, transcribe, index, and parse these calls, right? So that I can now search them later. So who is that? We got this new rec. We're working with an enterprise sales director, helping him fill a bunch of SDR roles, Brett Johnson. Let me click into that intake call I just had with Brett Johnson, or that the account manager had with Brett Johnson. Right? Now we've got all of the from that intake call about the hiring manager explaining why the job's important, and basically the pitch. Right. What can we do with this intake call? Well, I can create a share link here and use it to attract and market this opportunity to candidates or to split partners, and let them know I really have a relationship with the client. It's a real rec, and this hiring manager is worth working with, right? So in this case, I can, again, hide the hiring manager's name and photo if I want to protect their identity. I can select just a subset of those automatic clips or quotes that I captured from the call. I could brand this with my logo and branding, or I could brand it with my client's branding.
Mm-hmm.
Again, your total control. You can copy and paste the cut and paste job description, right? And then with the flick of a button, you can create a job preview link, right? This would have your logo and branding. And this is also just a link that you can now share with your team.
Right.
So everybody in the firm is aligned on what the hiring manager wants, and your operations organization will believe it's a hot rec, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember starting my career in recruiting in New York City, and sales team would come over waving a piece of paper saying hot rec, and we're like, well, did you talk to the company? No, but here's the job description. We're like, well, we're not stopping what we're doing to work on this job. We got 10 other jobs that are hot, right?
Right.
So how do we prioritize jobs as an organization? We need to share insights with each other.
Right. Right.
So this can help excite a sourcing team or recruiting team to work on this role, because they can hear that enthusiasm and hiring manager excitement.
Right.
But we can go one step further, and we can post this job now on LinkedIn or embed it in our outbound in-mails to passive candidates and say, hey, we're working on this amazing opportunity. Here's a link to meet the hiring manager.
Right. Right. Now, you talked about how this is, so powerful for the internal team and just those internal communications, right? Especially if, the businesses that aren't running a full 360 where they have like a true BD team and they need to pass this off onto, the sourcing recruiting team. But, what have you found in terms of like just candidate attraction, right? Like a lot of just the candidate experience and the candidate actually having a full scope of like what it would be like to work with this company before they even go down this rabbit hole of interviewing, so to speak.
Right. Well, think about what we're asking of candidates and why they probably aren't super excited to just take a call with any random recruiter, right?
Right.
It's because they've seen the job description. Those are easy to cut and paste. They really don't share trust and transparency and that you have a real relationship. And we're asking the candidate for 20 minutes of their day, right?
Right.
Here, we're giving more information. We're letting them opt in and say, let's hear about this hiring manager.
Yeah, so we have our SDRs operating in a hybrid fashion. So we have a pretty good flow of traffic coming from inbound, but we want to make sure that we keep them at capacity. So we tend to look for a profile that has.
Wow, sounds like a very smart sales director. That's well thought out. He's good. I'd be interested in learning more from that person, right? It's funny in the United States, we've just passed some laws to like put a salary on a job description, and it's like this big shift, right?
Right.
We're like, we've been hiding the hiring managers for years. Like, why don't we showcase amazing employees and diverse hiring managers to attract diverse candidates?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. What about like somebody that's like, do you have experience like not necessarily you have a traditional hiring manager title, but what about like a CFO that's in charge of the hiring, so to speak, or you're going to be working under this CFO? Do you guys ever use that where maybe there's a hiring manager involved, but then we're also going to share the key team member that they're going to be working under so they can get a little preview of that?
Yeah, actually, you can put multiple profiles and multiple calls on a single link, right? And so that's what some companies are doing. Not only can you meet the hiring manager, you can meet that VP of finance and that, partner in the other department, right? And so you're actually creating these job previews that showcase a few great leaders within the specific team, department, or organization. So these are very flexible, and you can hide or show as much as you want. Some folks choose to, if you've got a retained search, or if you're an internal corporate recruiter and you don't need to hide the hiring manager's name and photo, show it, right? Let's showcase those great employees to attract great candidates.
Yep. If you guys are listening with us live right now, go ahead and click that like button if you like what Nick is saying here. Feel free to go into the comments and ask any questions as we continue to demo out the Honeit product. As you guys are seeing, just kind of scratching the surface of the power this thing has to offer, the ability to showcase, do MPC marketing with your candidates in a completely different way that's ever been seen before, which could be a huge value add on the BD side. But then the overall client and candidate experience that you're creating here is definitely going to have you stand out. So if you guys are enjoying this and seeing the value in it, go ahead and click that like button so more people can see this and we can appreciate Nick's time that he's sharing here. Nick, let's keep on diving in here.
Awesome. Let me let's keep going a little step further. So now that we've talked to a great candidate, or we've talked to a great hiring manager about a job, we've created a job preview link, I can send this this link, and again, this would have your logo, your branding, or your client's branding, however you choose to create these links. But I can say, hey, Donnie, working on this amazing role, schedule a call if you like what you hear, right? We can paste these job preview links right into our LinkedIn threads or our emails or our outbound email templates. And again, your logo will pop here. It'll say meet the hiring manager at your company, right? Your
Yep.
brand is pushed forward. And if Donnie clicks this link, here's a couple highlights and likes what he hears, he's one click away to scheduling a call with your recruiter.
Yep.
Right. So scheduling automation is built in. You can brand your scheduling links. You can include your career video or your firm's video on YouTube. And it's just super simple, just like a Calendly link, to automate all of your scheduling. And this works with your phone screens for your candidates or your intake calls or even reference calls, right? Every conversation counts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how you've incorporated the certain things, the automated things like the scheduling calendar. Those are the obvious automated things that should be, taken care of and streamlining the entire process, which is saving, obviously client, candidate, and the actual recruiter, time. A quick question came in from Kevin, which is, does the platform include a built-in CRM?
Yeah, we have a lightweight CRM. I can quickly address that. Yeah, let me show you what we got. So we've got, you can imagine if you click the contacts page, this is what you'd imagine from a CRM. You've got a list of contacts. These could be candidates. These could be references. These could be clients. If you click or search a candidate, you can quickly click into their profile. This is also what you'd imagine from a CRM. You've got the candidate's name, email, phone number. You've got skill tags that were automatically indexed from any calls you might have had with them. These are great for search. You might have a summary. You've got the resumes. And here you can see all the calls you had with the candidate, right? Maybe you did a phone screen with them. Maybe you bought a video call with them. All those things can be captured and organized. You can send candidates quick SMS text message, say, hey, how did the interview go? Or, hey, I'll give you a call in 5 minutes, right? You can see candidates are organized in various projects or pipelines. These can be individual projects or team projects. And then you can see any of those share links that you may have created, right? Whether it's a job preview link that's getting clicks, or if it's candidate submittals or candidate previews that are getting clicks, and you can know when to follow up. So again, lightweight CRM, but it's got everything you need. And then if you click into a particular project, you can see how you can organize contacts within a particular pipeline or project, and for specific clients even.
Right. What about, just kind of following up on Kevin's question, what about more of the traditional applicant tracking system? Is that something you guys are offering? Is that something you guys are just kind of building kind of open API with some other?
Yeah, so we're not calling ourselves an ATS, right?
Right.
We want to focus on the conversations. We're more of a communication stack. So we have phone calls, video calls, SMS, and global VoIP calls built in. And you can make calls directly from the Chrome extension, right? So if I find a resume and a phone number, boom, I'm calling that candidate now, right? You don't have to schedule calls. You can call on the fly. But yeah, we integrate with a number of ATS partners. So we don't want to be the ATS or system of record, but we want to play nice and be able to push all of this great phone interview data and interview intelligence into other ATS and CRMs.
Yeah. And I just want to be clear. I think you just mentioned it. So, because what you've shown so far are just kind of voice recordings, right? You guys are doing video calls now. I know the last time we spoke, you guys were not doing video calls yet. And now the platform's evolved and you are doing video calls now, correct?
Yeah, we brought video back, right? Like you can't avoid it. We think phone calls are easier and better for DEI, but with everybody doing Zoom calls, it's like you just can't ignore it. So now when you schedule a call in Honeit, you can easily make it a 15-minute phone screen, right? Which is super easy, and you just talk over the telephone. Or if you wanted to make it a video call, you can make it a video call, or you can require video, and then it's just a link to join the Honeit call, just like you'd join a Zoom call.
Right.
Yep.
So you basically are running everything through the platform. You don't need Zoom anymore. You don't need those other tools. Like you have it all built under one roof here.
That's where a lot of recruiting firms are actually starting to see some cost savings when you consolidate your stack, right? If you can do your phone calls, your video calls, your SMS, your VoIP calls, lightweight CRM, scheduling, transcriptions, submittals, job previews, candidate previews, dial out, all of that's in a single, like purpose-built communication stack for recruiters.
Yeah. Cindy left a comment here. Candidates are getting smarter and on to recruiters that are just marketing a role that they don't have yet. Very common practice today. And I think that's a great point you bring up, Cindy. And that's where this software really is going to add that validation of I can tell you I have a role, or I can show you I have a role. And so I think this just adds for, again, another way to really differentiate yourself using this tool.
So we talked a little bit about the flywheel so far around, like, getting that new client, which is then getting that intake call to talk about that new rec, using that job preview to attract candidates, get those phone screens automatically on your calendar. And then the kind of that final loop is when you talk on the phone with the candidate and you capture insights from that call. How do we then, create a candidate preview link? So let's just finish that SDR thread, right? We reached out to a bunch of salespeople in Los Angeles for that role we're working on, and we talked to Andy, right? So I can click into my call with Andy, the candidate, where I asked him specific sales questions that the client wanted me to ask, right? I used a custom call guide, or, in my intake call, I asked the hiring manager, hey, what are the 5 sales questions you want us to ask salespeople for this specific role? And then it's a consultative custom phone screen that we're going to be delivering. Well, after that phone call with Andy, I can create a share link, right? Just select a couple of highlights from that call. I'm not sharing my entire call. I'm not sharing the opening icebreaker. I'm not sharing the closing stuff, right? And I can create in this case though, I might include the candidate's photo and their name and their resume, right? And their LinkedIn URL, and create a trackable candidate presentation link. So this is now a link that I can email, Slack, paste into my ATS, tag the hiring manager, and say, listen, I sourced Andy, I screened him, I asked the 4 technical questions you wanted me to ask. We think Andy's great. Here's why. And you can share this link with a hiring manager or multiple hiring managers or the entire hiring team, who can each invest 2 minutes to hear those sales questions that got you excited about this particular candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the amount of time saved on, for all parties, again, is just a huge value add. And you have the ability, if you want, like, they can share the entire interview, right? But yeah, the whole cut-ups and the way this thing is built that way is a huge value add to, the client. How are the customers using Honeit right now? Or do you have like some people that have a really good way to use this as a way to get themselves in the door, or use this as a way to really differentiate? I mean, using the tool is differentiating, but are they using this tool as a way to kind of get themselves in the door, so to speak, because of the process they can offer, because of, hey, we use a really advanced interviewing technology, so to speak, that really is a game changer in terms of how we're going to communicate with you through the process. Like, do you have any clients that share that?
I mean, you can now use this in your pitch to say, hey, do the other 3 recruiting firms you're talking to do highly technical phone screens and share highly technical insights to save your organization time and frustration? This is now a differentiator for RPO organizations to deliver a better work product. Not only is recruiter productivity in terms of, I don't have to manually schedule calls, I don't have to manually type notes, and I don't have to manually type write-ups anymore. So there's like ROI and order of magnitude optimization for recruiters in their day-to-day and reducing burnout. But that's different than this ROI that we're talking about, delivering a better work product, saving hiring managers and clients time, and accelerating the interview and hiring process downstream.
Yeah.
So both of those you can really take an organization, even a small, nimble recruiting team at one-man shop, to the next level in terms of productivity and then delivering a better work product.
Yep.
And so this idea that, now I can, if I'm in a meeting, I can read the transcript of each answer, or I can listen to the highlight and then say, oh my gosh, Andy sounds great, get him on site. Now, if Andy was the runner-up, right? If Andy was the runner-up for this particular client, what can we do? Well, I can create another link, hide Andy's name, hide his image, hide his resume and LinkedIn URL, and now use this link to pitch this candidate to the next client, right? It's a blind candidate preview link. Again, how do we monetize every conversation?
Right. Well, I think there's so much leverage with this tool.
And I think for especially where we're seeing a lot of recruiters kind of working together nowadays and split networks, you've got these recruiter networks, Top Echelon, MRI, et cetera, where, we're trying to create these natural split networks. But in my experience, there's always still issue with, is this a real rec? And is the candidate really good? Right. And so there's friction there in terms of split networks working well. Right. Well, now if you have a great intake call that you don't have the bandwidth to work on, share that job preview with the split network. It shares trust and transparency and visibility to motivate those split partners to work on that rec. Right. Similarly, you talk to a great candidate that you don't have a role or rec for, market them or share these blind candidate previews links with your split partners and let them pitch and promote them to clients that may have an opportunity. So again, how do we just improve communication, reduce misinterpretation, even among recruiters, let alone between recruiters and hiring teams?
Right. Well, that's the thing is you're improving the internal organization. Like if I'm a recruiting firm, I'm improving the communication within my organization based off of what hiring manager candidates are saying. I'm improving the process between candidate and hiring manager. Every step of the way, somebody's benefiting, as a result of using the tool. It's
true. I remember when I first fell into recruiting in New York, I would do a phone screen with the candidate. My boss sitting next to me, he heard half the conversation even, right? Because he heard my side of it. Still wasn't enough. He the resume wasn't enough and my opinion wasn't enough to accelerate that. So he wanted to talk to the candidate. He'd agree, say, Nick, yeah, that candidate was great. I said, I know, I had the same conversation you just had with him. So we'd send him over to the account management team, right? Who would look at the resume, look at us. I don't think this is what my client's looking for. So they didn't trust us, even though we work for the same firm. So they would want to do a quick 5-10 minute call with the candidate. They talk with the candidate. Yeah, I think we're great. I'd like to submit them. Okay. You share them. The internal recruiter doesn't trust any of us, doesn't want to pay a fee, doesn't want to talk to our candidates before they talk to the 20 candidates that applied directly. So 2 weeks go by. Internal recruiter finally talks to the candidate. Yeah, passes the test, shares their scribbled notes with the hiring manager, who doesn't trust any of us and needs to re-phone interview the same. It's like, what are we doing here? Five separate phone screens with the poor candidate for 5 people to agree. And that's not even downstream interviewing. That's just recruiters aligning on stuff.
Right.
And so we're like, whoa, no. One phone screen, ask technical questions, share technical answers, and let's all get on the same page.
Well, it's funny if you were to scroll your LinkedIn feed one day and take a look at some of the biggest gripes that candidates have, it usually is just about their time being wasted, right?
Yeah,
Viability of a
same
recruiter wasting
conversation
time.
6 times. Obviously, this interview team and panel wasn't aligned. They didn't sort out who's asking what. Just get everybody just busy. It's like, so how do we just, again, we as recruiters can ask great technical questions, and we probably have been for years. We just haven't had a mechanism to easily share great technical, I use the term technical loosely, marketing answers, finance answers, production management, whatever the role or record jargon you're talking about. How do we share those insights with other folks involved in the hiring process? And if we do, it's going to remove that he said, she said. It's no longer my opinion. We're actually sharing candidate insights and talent intelligence and interview quotes instead of scribbled notes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a game changer. It's a whole different presentation that's being brought to the table. And not only is it like a differentiator, but it's also saving time. There's just so much value in the platform. I'm going to actually go ahead and drop a link. You guys click that link in the platform. I think it looks like your channels are read only, so you can't reply. Okay, never mind. Let me see if I can do this again. All right. Well, I'll drop a link. There should be a link actually that I dropped in the beginning of the episode here that you guys can go back to. But go ahead and check out Honeit. Check out the testimonial page because, of course, my friend Nick here would talk highly of his platform, and I'm gonna endorse it as well. But if you go look at this testimonial page, it's just impressive with how many people. And it's a common theme of Honeit's a game changer. I think it would be how it sum it up. Game changer. My favorite recruiting tool. So, Nick, anything that you want to kind of wrap up with?
I think, we covered a lot. I think it's just, in summary, talking to people is, again, one of the most fundamental things in recruiting, right? And we can
Yep.
automate a lot of other things around what we do, and sourcing and finding, discovering talent. But as soon as we get someone to bite to say, sure, let's talk. How can we schedule, screen, and submit those candidates faster? Can we reduce burnout? How can we show the value of a phone screen and show a hiring team and client that recruiters can deliver insights, right? And not just forward resumes. And so I think
Yep.
I'm very excited about this profession. I love, it's a fascinating, role and function. I just think we need, for talking to so many different types of people every day, I think there needs to be a communication tool for recruiters,
Yep.
right? And the telephone has been around for decades. That's not sufficient. Zoom, been around for a couple of years. Great. I can look at someone while I'm talking to them, but that's not a communication stack, right? We use Zoom
Right.
to talk to our grandparents. Our kids use Zoom for their class. That's not a purpose-built solution. So this idea of creating a communication stack purpose-built for recruiters and talent partners is something we're really excited about. And again, we play nice with a lot of the ATSs. We have an open API, and it's your data. So you can save it wherever you want or push it wherever you want.
That's actually that question that came in. Says, is there any ability to maintain these audio video files locally or only to our Honeit account?
They're just stored in your Honeit account. But one thing we could show is that maybe it'd be worth showing this real quick. So on a particular call, so if I click into this call with Andy that we had, we can create these share links that are for other people to view, but I can also easily export this call, right? I can push it into my ATS or CRM with a click. I could download a PDF of the call, right? And this is an easy way to just, again, save it on your computer, drag it into an ATS or CRM, and you've got all the insights from the call: who interviewed who, the skill tags that were talked about, the question, the answer, the question, the answer, the question, the answer, and then the full call transcript.
Right.
So these are assets that you can use outside of Honeit. We're happy to also obviously save all the insights and data as long as you're a customer.
Perfect. Hopefully that answers your question, Noel. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I know you're happy because Arkansas basketball's winning again. So really good stuff. Nick, do you mind if I share that special information or special offer you've got for my audience? You mind if I share that here on the podcast?
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great.
All right, cool. So Nick has actually worked out something really great for those of you that are listening today and for those that are part of the Donnie Gupton world. So what we've got to offer you today is a free 30-day trial of Honeit, which would include all the normal onboarding, training, etc., SMS, text message number, as well as once that trial's up, you would get a 10% off of the Honeit platform for 6 months. So if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and either comment on this video here or send me a direct message here on LinkedIn, and I'll reach out with those details. Nick's made it as easy as possible to make this, what do we call it, risk-free or a no-brainer to at least try out this software. And again, if you were to try it out, you look at the success other people have had it, it's probably going to be one of your favorite tools in your recruiting belt this year.
Donnie, I like it. You're making them contact you for that discount code.
Of course. I got to start dialogue. I have to have conversations.
Share that. You're not going to share that.
Yeah, well, if those that are going to be watching this recorded, those details will be right in that description below this video or below the audio. So, but for those of you that are listening with you live right now, if you guys want that info, reach out to me. Hint, hint. There's going to be an email coming from me tomorrow with the same information. So keep an eye out for that. But Nick has been gracious enough to create a great deal for those of you that are listening here right now. So Nick, thank you for that.
Thank you, Donnie.
Anything else you want to wrap up with?
I love the partnership. I love what you're doing to advance the profession too, Donnie. I mean, I think that's why we're super excited to work with you on this, because you're advancing the profession, with your classes and courses and stuff. And I think a lot of it aligns. We're, how do we have better conversations? How do we advance the profession? How do we generate more placements faster? All that stuff we're excited about as well. So
100%, man. Likewise, I love being a part of what you guys have going on. Really love the platform. Because I don't use the platform, it's better for me to have you showcase this, but just, even the clients that I've recommended this to already, personally what I've heard of people enjoying Honeit, then you go to your testimonial page. Phenomenal tool that can be a huge advantage for a recruiting firm. So if you're looking to, throw in a new wrinkle, if you're looking to kind of up level your recruiting business, simply by adopting Honeit and this tool can get you on your way this year. And like I said, Nick and his team, if you take advantage of this 30-day trial, Nick and his team will fully onboard you, get you using this tool, and have that 30-day trial be, a great experience for you.
Yeah, we have a lot of support and training from our end built in even to the free trials. So we have a weekly Honeit training it's live every Tuesday at 12 Pacific. So you can jump in, ask questions. That's where we actually see recruiters even discussing and sharing tips and best practices with each other, which is pretty cool. So hacks on how to get more value out of the platform. And then we've got, support built in, and we can do a training for your team if it's a group. So yeah, we're here if you need anything.
Excellent. If you're not connected with Nick on LinkedIn yet, go ahead and connect with Nick here on LinkedIn. Learn more about Honeit and some of the things that he shares. And again, if you are interested in Honeit, reach out to myself. I'll get you those special details. Nick, thank you. I'm sure we'll have you on again here soon.
Okay.
But appreciate your time and being a part of the Relevant Recruiter community.
Anytime. Congrats on building a great network.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.